right, that's it.
Okay. I would like to call the general committee meeting to order for November 14th, 2023. And I have a list of for citizen comments. If anyone hasn't signed this list, please let me know. And I would like to do a roll call as we always do. I will start. I'm the chairman, Lee Peterson, Alderman from Ward 2, and our committee members today.
Jim Waters, Vice Chair, Alderman, Ward 6.
Bob Garza, Alderman, Ward 3.
And also, I would like to go around the table and in the room as well, so everyone can introduce themselves.
Sure. Jason Gallo, Administrative Services Director.
Mayor Jamie Cleary.
Jesse Eckenroth, Chief of Operations.
Casey Lamar, PIO.
Keith Free, Planning Director.
Alderman Karen Dixon, Ward 4.
Jeff Cundiff, Barge Design Solutions.
Cal Gentry here representing Greg's Place.
Marty Cook, the Spencer family, Bone McAllister here on the Westlake issue and also for Greg's Place.
Woods Drinkwater with Bradley Arant, Bolt Cummings here on the Westlake issue.
Patrick Parker with Parker and Associates here on the Westlake issue.
Keith
First reading.
First reading.
You can
Which
make
be-
changes
be
then.
2
if you
more
want to.
weeks.
Yeah.
So that'll be in there.
Yes. No, it won't. It only if any alderman wanted to make an amendment. So amendments could be made at that first reading if it's, hey, we want to make this change.
Yeah.
Let's make, direct the planning staff to make that correction.
Yeah.
Bring that back in the second reading, so that it could be fully considered. So
Okay.
that's possible. You could make any specific wording changes, or you could say, hey, planning staff, we would like to direct you to give us these alternatives when we bring this back, for us to consider. So we'd have the specific language as to what that would be.
Will this come back to us before it goes to Bowman? The first time?
No, this is the only time it's coming
This
to
is
the
the only
general
time
committee.
we'll see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
I got
this
it.
moves on to BOMA after this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Did you have anything you wanted to add? You mentioned something about the planning commission and how they voted.
Well, they were on the earlier things that you brought up, that
Yeah.
that passed completely not.
Yeah, that was a unanimous vote.
Yeah.
I might speak for the committee and just say, I don't think that we're equipped to speak about multifamily tonight. I would like to get full input from BOMA on that aspect. So, with that being said, I would entertain a motion to, I would,
Move it.
yes.
Move it on to Bowman. Okay.
I will take a motion for that.
Did you say something?
I'll second his motion.
Well, I'll let
No,
you,
I didn't make a motion. He made it.
Oh,
well, I will entertain a motion.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's what I thought.
okay.
Then I'll make that motion that we move this up to vote.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, before y'all vote, we had some audio problems there.
Okay.
And I think if some folks want to speak again, I think it'd probably be a good idea.
Yes, very good. I didn't know if we should vote before we had that. And I apologize for a technical difficulty with our meeting, but I would like those who signed up for citizen comments to get up and speak again, if you would. So we have it on audio.
The mic got kicked out under the table.
Oh,
Sure,
yeah.
so
It was you, Jamie.
that's
I
what
think that
happened.
was maybe.
Sorry.
That was
I've already been defeated. This is my pressure for me. Thanks for the opportunity to address you again. Woods Drinkwater, Bradley Aaron, both Cummings and Nashville. I represent the owner of the Grove at Water Crossing, here to discuss the redistricting of the Westlake area. And I'm, excuse me, I'm specifically speaking about the area that's currently zoned OTR, Old Town Residential, that is proposed to be rezoned SR3, Suburban Residential 3. OTR presently permits multifamily residential areas. SR3, the proposed new district, does not permit that. In fact, it permits single family residential areas. The proposed rezoning immediately south of this area is MFR, multifamily residential. That is a new district which permits multifamily residential. It would be our proposal that the areas in the east portion of the new SR3 be instead changed to MFR to represent the what is currently in that area, multifamily residential apartment complexes, townhomes, and the like, for in keeping with what is currently there, so that we're not having an odd non-conforming use, and also for any future expansion opportunities or plans for those property owners. We think that it would be within your power, Roma's power, to redraw that redistricting line and consider the current makeup of that portion of the district and designate it as MFR. Thank you.
Thank you.
And was that the Grove at Waterford Crossing?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Drinkwater. Our second person for our citizen comments is Marty Cook. If you would please state your name and address.
Thank you all again. Marty Cook, 103 Citation Circle. As I stated, Planning Commission, as I stated before, I actually think I misspoke earlier tonight, so I I'm glad I get a chance to make a correction. It was about 10 years ago. I was thinking 2013 and said 13 years ago, I believe, when I represented some of the original developers of the Waterford overall development and going through their master plans and getting their plans approved. And as I said, during that time, there were many concessions that were made by those landowners, some payments in lieu of improvements to roads, traffic signals, pocket park, as Mr. Parker suggested. And so it would be our hope, as Mr. Drinkwater said, that as part of this process, the designation of the Waterford Crossing area and the various developments that are encompassed by that overall master development plan, that they could be given a zoning designation that is consistent with their current use, and that they would not be forced into a non-conforming status, which could potentially have an impact on the value of their property going forward. So that is our hope, that at least there could be some discussion of that, there could be some consideration of that, and that there could be the involvement of those landowners of that particular community. And also here on behalf of Grace Place with Mr. Gentry. So thank you all.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Patrick Parker.
Patrick Parker, 108 Meadow Lake Court here in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Parker and Associates law firm as well too, in here in Hendersonville. I guess I'll start again by saying I'm quite surprised the city attorney didn't jump out when you've let 3 lawyers have the mic twice tonight, that he didn't stop all of this. But with that being said, I spoke specifically previously about my client, Delta Investment Partnership, owned by Mr. Randy Hoffman, and more specifically about the concessions that were made regarding Waterford Crossing. I did provide to the city attorney and staff the plat that's recorded regarding Phase 4, Waterford Crossing, and the remaining land that he owns related to that development. When given his involvement, Mr. Cook spoke about the different concessions that were made at that time, and that's part of the reason. And then specifically, as indicated by the plat, there were some land use dedications specifically for right-of-way, turn lane around that my client dedicated at the time. That was done here. We would in turn concur with what Mr. Drinkwater said, that we would like to have further discussion on the rededication of that corridor of Waterford Crossing to be some type of multifamily residential consideration as well, and would appreciate the committee's considerance of that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Steve Rosette.
Okay, I'll try to remember what. The first question I had was, I see that there was a complexity of the plan. The plan was, I'm saying several hundred pages long. And my question was, who was the consultant that was hired by the city to do this plan? And I also had a question about the cost, but as was previously discussed when we had the technical difficulties, Mr. Free said that it was Kimley and Horn. Kimley and Horn is a large corporation throughout the United States. They do all the major cities. I was just wondering why we couldn't have a local person, somebody in the local area. Okay, yeah, they're local, quote unquote. They're out of Nashville, that office, but somebody here that has personal concern over the city itself. And I saw one concern of a gentleman that was at the Planning Commission at a previous meeting, and he had gotten 2 letters from the city because the property he owns is on one part of a zone. I don't know if it was SR1 or commercial zone, adjoining properties, and this is why I said you have to have local people work on a project. Then they know the area, they know the streets, they can picture it. If you sit in an office in Nashville, I can't see how you can do that. But that's just my concern. I don't expect an answer out of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the speakers tonight. And we will get back to our ordinance of 2020 23-26, and that is the ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the city of Hendersonville, Tennessee, and the accompanying zoning map to establish the Westlake zoning districts and related standards. That's the amendment that Mr. Free has discussed before us tonight. And I would like a motion. Yes, go ahead.
Before we get there, I'm going to ask Keith Free this. So these gentlemen showed up with almost the exact same concern.
Right.
So would they lose the possibility of expansion if we rezone this the way it is?
It's possible, yes.
Yeah.
With it being residential, if it was commercial, it might be a little different. Certainly if something happened and it was destroyed, it could be built back. There's no problem with that. But there are limitations on residential property versus commercial and industrial property. So there are some some things to that. Technically, as they're using it now, they could continue to use that, like that. It wouldn't be a problem. And it's very possible with it being a legal non-conforming use, it could possibly even be removed and something else built there, but within the limitations of what is already there. So there would be some limiting to the property, with that.
Okay.
If they wanted to expand
It's a good
and
question.
do some different things. And in this, the text changes that impact Westlake, but they impact everything. The parking requirements actually are going up. The planning commission is recommending increasing the parking requirements on multifamily. So it actually would be going up from what it was when those developments were created, or even today, if multifamily was created.
But apparently, and I don't know the area as well as I don't live in that area, but apparently there's still land for expansion. We're just going to change the zoning on it.
Is there there's those few lots you have, so it's very limited, but it sounds like maybe it's possibly, I gotta see exactly what those lots are, but there's really not really vacant land over there, other than the possibility of what the gentleman was sharing earlier. Everything's built out within that specific area.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
May I ask a question?
Yes, please.
I would like for the attorneys that have presented tonight, so that the record is complete, to brief this topic and submit those briefs in sufficient time before the first reading. Specifically, the brief, I would like for them to include any legal arguments or legal issues, and also procedural issues, if there are any procedural issues. So I think that will help establish a complete record for us to consider. I know these issues have been considered by the Planning Commission, and that they have deliberated and they've used their expertise to make a ruling. But I'd like to give these attorneys the opportunity to brief this issue so that we have those briefs before we make a decision. Just a suggestion.
Thank you, Alderman Robertson. I agree with that. And
Let me ask you, Alderman Rob, you mean have this back before it comes to Boma in 2 weeks?
Well, I would like to have the briefs back.
Yeah.
By the time that staff sends out our booklet, so that we'll have the weekend to read the briefs.
Yeah.
And be
That could be
prepared.
done.
Yes.
That could be done, Keith?
Yeah, just send those to me, and then I'll run, Lance and I will get together with that. And if you can get that in a timely manner, the sooner the better, then we can include those in the next packet, so that Boma has access to those as well.
Just so we're aware, and with the Thanksgiving holiday next week, when will this package be sent out?
When is that, Jesse? And I can slide it in that last day.
or could we defer this
we're meeting on,
The 28th.
yeah, so we would send them out on the 22nd,
Okay, so you have more than a week then.
Wednesday,
Yeah,
the
and then-
22nd.
And then we do have 2 readings, so, if we got that, and then some of that was there before the first reading, there's still gonna be the opportunity at the second reading, to make any adjustments as well.
Should we put a max on how many pages these briefs can be?
Let me speak twice.
I like attorney humor.
Is that what it was?
Yes.
He was playing.
And, yes, and that's good. For the sake of time, I appreciate everyone's comments to have legal briefs submitted, because I just would rather have the entire BOMA be able to weigh in on this discussion and not just the general committee. So I will entertain a motion to move this amendment, ordinance 2023-26 to BOMA.
So moved.
All those in favor,
Aye.
say aye. Peterson made the motion and Garza properly seconded, and it passed 3-0 with unanimous recommendation to BOMA.
Good.
Okay. I'd like to thank you all for being with us today. That's your cue. You can leave, because we're going to keep on. Next item is reading of Resolution 2023-48, a resolution authorizing Silver Fox Stitches LLC, Elizabeth Storm, to use the city's logo on items produced for resale.
Mr. Chairman, I have a deal to offer you.
Yes.
How about we remove that item, but I would like to talk about item number 5 next.
Yeah, we can.
Can we go ahead and vote on this right quick?
Well, the person who we have questions for is not here. And frankly, I don't see a reason to go forward if that's the case.
Okay.
You want to pull it?
Yeah.
Are we
Yes,
going to defer this?
Let's
or-
do that. Let's put it off for a month.
Okay.
How long?
A month.
1 month.
All right. Thank you. And we will move on to agenda item number 3. That's reading of resolution 2023-49, a resolution to amend the Grace Place at New Shackle Comprehensive Development Plan located at 126 New Shackle Road. Mayor Clary, this is your resolution. Would you like to speak on that?
It's one of my best resolutions of the night. I will ask Mr. Free to speak.
Okay, perfect.
And I will be legitimately brief on this one.
Okay.
So the planning commission recommended approval of the amendment to the final development plan for Grace Place Ministries. And this reduces the number of units over there to 43 units. And then it lays out the development where really it was more an apartment complex looking, which was okay, but
More
you
like
kinda
a
had that-
community.
yeah, it looks more like it's really a pocket neighborhood. And so I think the planning commission really liked the changes that were made. There were 2 waivers that were requested. One was a waiver and a buffer requirement, and that was approved. And then there was a condition on a second waiver that was a reduction in parking requirements for the site. And then there's a stipulation that the applicant agreed to that parking reduction is only associated with Grace Place or any other similar nonprofit doing the similar type mission. So if later in years something happened and it was in the control of someone else that wasn't doing this type of activity, they would then have to meet that parking requirement, which more than likely would mean acquiring more property or removing some of the units.
Okay.
So this was unanimously recommended from the planning commission, and I can answer any questions that you might have on that.
Yeah, I see that it passed 9-0, and I will second. The plans look great. It much better than the original plans, so we appreciate the architects working on that.
I can only add, Mr. Chairman, that this is a great program. It is something that Alderman Robinson and I attended at the very first meeting with the people. And we was amazed at what they had to offer to the ladies that's going to be using this. So I strongly encourage this committee to approve it. It's a wonderful program.
Okay.
Thank
I
you.
concur with that.
And Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, I'd like to be a sponsor. I was one of the co-sponsors on the original, so I would like to be added as a sponsor.
On all 5 of the items on the agenda, or just this one?
This one.
Just-
I would like to be
We will
added
add
as
to
a
that.
sponsor to this, sure.
Resolution?
Okay. You got that? Okay, thank you.
And we will add Alderman Garza as well.
Mhm.
Okay, well, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we send this to Boma without approval.
And I second that.
All right, we have a proper motion made by Mr. Waters and a second from Mr. Garza. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Item number 4, reading of resolution 2023-50, a resolution elected by the planning department in the administration of the city zoning ordinance. Mayor Clary, you are sponsoring this. Would you like to hand this over to the
Yes.
planning department? Okay. And I will just interject quickly. I see that the fees here mostly have been increased. Some remain at zero. Who came up with these current fees?
The current fees that we have now that people are paying.
I'm sorry, the proposed fee.
The proposed fees in the planning department, we did a fee study that you can see in your packet. And from that fee study that looks at what other people are doing, but then more specifically is not basing our fees on what other communities are doing. We looked at really what the hours we have in different types of tasks, and then what we're actually paying for salaries and benefits for employees. And so we did a study, and then the basis of these increases in fees are based on the study that the planning department did. And we've been working on this for several months, and with the assistance of the COO as well, and appreciate his efforts on this as well.
Just
And- yes, sir.
So I looked at it, and obviously it looks like, it would help put money back into the city.
Yes, sir.
My only question, which I'm pretty sure both you guys can answer, is what the new proposed fees are in line with most of, nobody's going to come here and freak out that our fees are that high, right?
Some of them are going up substantially.
No, that's
Yeah.
okay.
But
No
it's-
one's going to freak out when they say, gosh, I can go to Nashville and get it for half that price.
No, the developers and most of the applicants are not going to freak out. These aren't out of line.
That's my question.
And most importantly, they are aligning the service provided for the applicant that's providing it, that's asking for that service. They're paying for that. So what this does is no longer really super subsidizes the application process.
Gotcha.
And is what it does. It's a good question.
Question. I think we all have to do is just look at page 21. Keith, how much of an increase in revenue is this going to help us?
521.
As a staff report.
If you compare, of course, this is conservative, but if you compare the fees that were paid for projects in 2022, and if you assess the proposed fees to those, the fees that we generated in 2022 were about 60,500, and then that same year, if we put these new proposed fees, would be 490,200. And so it's a significant increase in the service.
Yeah.
But you can see when the further down in the study where we compare to other communities, you can see kind of where our old fee was, and then where it is, and where other folks are doing things as well.
This is a great improvement, isn't it, as far as the revenue.
Yeah, as far as the revenue for the services provided being paid for by the appropriate parties,
Yeah,
it is.
about the applicant.
That's correct.
I would argue that I don't know if we should propose it as such a large increase because we were undercharging so heavily in 2022. Increase is scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would state though that it is, as Keith said, the general taxpayer is subsidizing these services that a business is coming in to
Correct.
get. That is a benefit to the business itself and not the general public. So the recovery rate that we set is 95%, and it does not include overhead.
Right.
So we could substantially increase these if we were to wrap in overhead of our HR department and our finance department keeping the lights on. And we did estimate the hours of time kind of soft, and then we went to 95% recovery. If we don't do that, the old rate of recovery was less than 30%, which means that the general tax base is subsidizing 70% of an application process that
Right.
A business owner wants to do for their gain. So in some sense, it fairly allocates the cost. It doesn't. I don't think it makes such a tremendous impact that a couple $1,000s would stop a business from developing.
Agreed.
But it is fair for the application process.
Oh, no, I like it a lot. I think it's a necessary thing to do. I just, in a presentation, it looks like we're gone over the mountain.
True.
Right.
And so a way that we're going to mitigate that in the future is that since this is based on staff costs, what we've done is we've held that cost flat for many years without keeping up with the pace of inflation.
Yeah.
So this adds an annual inflator. That's the cost of living adjustment that employees get, so that every year, if we get a 2% or 3%, then the costs go up 2% or 3%. And there's not a substantial jump again, 10 years or 15 years from now where it stays flat.
Yeah. I think it's a good program.
And would maybe add some caution to it as well, except for the BOMA report, and every indication is increasing. Residential permits, commercial permits, use and occupancy permits, commercial projects, everything is increased. So I think an increase in our fees is a good alignment with that. And
This takes effect next year.
January the 1st. And I will just note, it's in the study, but this isn't for any new positions or services. This is just looking at the services that we have right now.
Yeah.
So this isn't for additional services.
And this doesn't include our proposed impact fees either.
No.
When are we going to talk about that?
Well, we'll have to get it on the agenda, but I will entertain a motion for
Go ahead.
Oh,
resolution
So moved.
2023-50, establishing fees to be collected by the planning department.
I'll make the motion, we send it on to Bowman without approval.
We have
Agreed.
a proper motion from
in a second.
Mr. Waters and a second from Mr. Garza. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye. That passes unanimously to BOMA. Our last agenda item is Resolution 2023-46, a resolution accept a donated conveyance. I need the city attorney.
That's right, you did that.
Oh, yes, my goodness. Good. Of real property to the city of Hendersonville, Tennessee, from the current owner located in the Mayfair development at 250 East Main Street. Mayor, would you like to speak on this resolution?
I will start it. How's that?
Okay, perfect.
2 weeks ago, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen passed a resolution that changed the final development plan for the Mayfair property. That's the property that's right next door to us. That includes the Bradford Berry House. As part of that plan, we expect the property owner to deed what was parcel E. That's the Bradford Berry House, the cemetery, and 13-ish acres between there and Floor and Decor.
13.24.
Thank you. That resolution did not include acceptance of the property. It just included the expectation as final development plan. Even though it's in a resolution that expectation is there, I cannot accept that property. It's a liability. It's an obligation. If for no other reason we're removing something from the tax rolls, I don't have the authority to do that. BOMA has the authority to do that. So if somebody comes forward to me and says that they want us to to take deed to a property, I can't just do that. I have to come to you. That's what I'm coming to you for, is to ask you permission to accept the donation of that land when it happens. And it has to happen before the end of the year.
Okay. Thank you. So we need to move quickly on this. And this will be brought up in 2 weeks. Okay. So I think it's very valuable property. I'm glad that we're seeing some movement on this. The home does need to be saved. I think it's an asset to the city. I don't know how we pay for it
Good question.
or what we do, but I would like to send this to BOMA so we can get their input.
I'll make a motion that we send this to Boma. I think it's the right thing to do. And this is just allowing the necessary evils that he can accept the property.
Yes.
We're not changing the world here.
Right.
Mr. Waters, do you have any input on the Bradford Berry
I do.
property?
I second.
Okay, we have a proper motion for resolution 2023-46, accepting donated conveyance of real property to the city of Hendersonville located at 250 East Main Street at the Mayfair development, that being the Bradford Berry House.
Mr. Chairman, the reason I would hesitate, Mayor, everything has to come to you, to Beaumont, right?
Well, not in all cases. This is a situation where it definitely does.
In this situation here I'm talking about. Okay, that's why I was hesitating about it.
If I could add one thing, I appreciate that Jeff Cundiff has worked with us on this, and a local person as well as engineer representing the property.
Good. Just want to be sure.
Okay, we have a motion to accept a motion to move this to BOMA.
He's second.
And he had a second.
I second.
Okay, perfect. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That is unanimous. Proper motion from Mr. Garza and a second from Mr. Waters. Okay, we have other agenda items, but I would like to refer to Mr. Gallo about time.
We've got about 7 minutes left.
Okay.
Does not include a bathroom break.
Nope,
Let's,
it doesn't.
We have 2 discussion items, and that is Heritage Park house lease agreement and an impact fee update. Do we have time to discuss both of those?
For Mr. Eckerman.
I can probably do both in under a minute and a half.
Okay, that's perfect. Let's go to number 6 and start with Heritage Park, which is the Beatty Farm property. It has the house and someone wants to lease that. Is that correct?
There has been a group, Lantern Lane, who's expressed interest in using the home for their services. They reached out to Mayor Clary. We've held a meeting with them. They're looking at the property to see if it could fit their needs. They have submitted nothing to us officially, but just giving Bowman an update that they have expressed interest. We do have a meeting with them November 27th as a follow-up. We don't really have anything specific, but they have expressed interest. That's all I have to report.
And who is that group?
They do counseling. They offer counseling services. They have one in Mount Juliet, and they do it in a ranch-style setting where they use, I think they use horses in the ranch-style setting for some of their therapy sessions.
And what type of counseling is it exactly?
Family, marriage counseling.
Okay. I think
It's just for the building, not the property. Are they gonna lease the whole thing?
Yeah, so they've just expressed an interest in potentially using it. We don't have any terms from them. They said, hey, can we look at the property? Can we do an assessment? We said, sure, go ahead. And we're going to meet with them at the end of November.
Is it for day use only?
As far as I know.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Our next discussion is impact fee update.
Yes, sir. So we talked about planning fees today. That's getting passed to BOMA. That is mostly commercial development. We have engaged Sisler Bice, who did an impact study for the city a few years ago. to update the residential side of impact fees to bring to BOMA for consideration, specifically for impact to parks. So they are working on that. I think they're going to be wrapped up by the end of December. So we will have something to bring to BOMA after it's wrapped up. So it'll probably come to general committee and then to BOMA again. It's just an update that we'll have some type of fee to study to present to this group.
Okay, that is very good. All right, is there any other business that anyone would like to discuss?
I just want you to call me at 7:00 in the morning so I'll be on time.
For that,
Costco.
And I make a motion that we adjourn.
I second that motion.
have a proper motion to adjourn and a second from Mr. Waters. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Good job. Good job.